The following is a special presentation of Keeping It 100. Watch future episodes exclusively on Soul of the South, available over the air on 30.4, or contact your local cable provider.
Good day, and welcome to Keepin It 100. I'm Michael Victorian, your host and president of the 100 Black Men of Metro Baton Rouge. Today we will be discussing a topic that hits home for many: daddyless daughters and fatherless sons. A look at absentee fathers. Currently, approximately 70% of African American children are being raised in single-parent homes, mostly in households headed by women. Research shows that children raised by single mothers tend to experience less social, educational, and professional success, while at the same time, such households experience harsh economic realities. Oprah Winfrey recently called fatherless households an epidemic in the African American community. Now, here to keep it 100 about daddyless daughters and fatherless sons are Dr. Mary Moss, Executive Director of Louisiana Area Women in Ministry; John Smith, Vice President of Programs of the 100 Black Men of Metro Baton Rouge; and Tyrone Black, Director of Field Services for the Estruma Area Boy Scouts. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So let's get into it. And let's start off with Dr. Moss here. In your opinion, Dr. Moss, based on the fact that 40% of children born in 2012 were born to unwed mothers, what does this say about our current trends?
Well, first of all, Mike, I would say that initially it's scary trends because it steers away from what is designed for healthy children and also for healthy families. It says that when you are dealing with households with that kind of statistic, somewhere someone has gotten away from certain value systems. The Bible, I must bring that into view, has a plan for families. And all of the statistics that we are looking at now are clear indicators that something systemically is wrong. And so we've got to look back and begin to pull back into focus to somehow cause a catalyst to take place that these figures will change. We need to look at basic principles. We need to consider certain family, in particularly family values that has somehow fallen in the gap.
Okay, thank you very much. John, if you could join in on that.
Yeah, I guess when we look at that statistic, we're saying 40% are born into fatherless households. I think it's a call to action for us to begin to dig and find out why. Engage ourselves in the community, sit down and have some conversations with especially the females, but also the males from a 100 perspective of why is it that you have this child and you're not in that household. I think at that point in time, then we can begin to develop some strategies. I agree with Reverend Moss. Fundamentally, there are some issues around where we once were as far as that whole family structure. The church being critical to that, encouraging us that we need to be families.
Okay, thank you very much. Tyrone?
Well, with the Boy Scouts, we build value in the family. I think what's most important that is bringing families together. With scouting, we build the value, character, build your self-esteem. Mostly, it's bringing all the families together as one.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. So, next question, and John, we'll come back to you. In your opinion, why are so many fathers leaving the household after children are born?
Ironically enough, I don't know. We look at the statistics and we're saying, obviously the two people were together at some point in time because a child was born.
Right.
But what is it that's happening such that that father is no longer there? We hear things such as, depending on where you are and your socioeconomic status, sometimes it is not economically feasible for the father to be there because other things get impacted? Or is it because this was just a moment of passion and now that the thrill is gone, we've decided to move on? So I think we really need to sit down and have some conversation with these young males and older males to begin to understand why that is.
Right. Could it possibly be that, and we have a saying in the 100, to be a man, you have to see a man?
Correct.
That these individuals that are leaving the household, someone left their household.
Exactly. And I think that's the bigger problem, is because what they see is what they will be. So if they grew up in an environment where there was no father, then they begin to perpetuate that, such that that 40% we're seeing now begins to grow. So I think that what they see actually is a very important part of the perpetuation of this statistic.
All right. Dr. Moss, if you could continue on that point.
Yes, thank you so very much. I think we need to be very mindful of the fact that when, and certainly I concur with John and your statement about being in the home, but what we have to realize is that just a statement and assumption? Because many times the father of children are not really in the life. It could be a moment of passion, or it could be just an incident in which this young man became intimate, and sometimes they are just friends. And so the view of in the home then becomes skewed. And even if it is a situation where we are looking at the young man being in the home, I concur. I pastor, and I had a meeting with the males of my congregation, and when I asked them what impacted them, that they were the successful group of men that I was sitting in front of, it always pointed back to a male or a man or a role model in their life, whether it be dad, granddad, and back then granddad was as present as dad.
Right.
So it was that model in the home. So if they do not have some sense or image of what a home ought to look like, then there really is no consciousness as to what the young men are expected to do.
Okay. Mr. Black, can you share with us, please?
Yes, with the problem I think we're having is the kids now, the young kids are experiencing, like Ms. Moss said, the repetitive of a father not being in the home. I think what the problem is we got to fix is starting with the church, getting families in church, starting with communities that, like the 100, bringing men into the focus of the young men that's in scouting and in the world today.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, we're not going to have time to get into our next segment, but I want you to think about the next question. It's going to be, how can single-family parents help their children overcome feelings of abandonment? Now, but we're going to end this segment, and to our viewing audience, don't leave us. We'll be back in just a few minutes. This is Michael Victorian, and we want to keep it 100, so please stay tuned. Welcome back to Keeping It 100, where our topic today is absentee fathers. Mr. Black, if we could kick it off this segment with you on the question of how can a single parent help their children overcome feelings of abandonment?
Well, I think what they can help their kids about getting the feel of abandonment is put them in scouting, because scouting is a faith-based with the church, and you got adults that build togetherness with the parents and with scouting. We have programs that's with Cub Scouting. It's 1st through 5th grade, Boy Scouting, 6th grade to 12th grade. We have 2 programs, Venturing and Exploring, 14 to 21, that is career-based, that bring adults in to help parents with abandonment. I think with scouting, it's always togetherness and bringing families together. If the father then left, it still can bring the coincidence of everybody together as one.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I think by putting their children in programs such as the mentoring programs that the 100 have, our ACT prep program, our financial literacy programs, it embraces the children. So all of a sudden, rather than they're feeling abandoned, they now have this new environment of persons that are around them saying, "You can do it. Yeah, we have issues in life, but let's go forward." That loving, caring environment is a big part of the mentoring program that we do in programs like the 100 and other mentoring programs. So one thing is for parents to reach out and say, "Let me put my child in your mentoring program, and here are my issues."
Okay. So basically, we're creating a surrogate family.
We're creating a surrogate family, an extended community, because we don't want to. You're not in the household, but you're in the community.
Okay, fair enough. Dr. Moss.
Yes, Mike. I think one of the things that the parent should remember as they begin to look for an avenue in which to cover abandonment, the parent should be very, very conscious of the fact that sociologically a child needs to have a sense of security, a sense of being loved, even a need to be in a place, find themselves somewhere in a place where they feel a part of. Having said that, parents can begin to look for places that fulfill those gaps, such as, along with what the two men have said here this morning, but a church is a good place where we have various ministries, sisterhoods to embrace the young girls, because they're in homes as well, right, where fathers are not present. You have programs with dance ministries and again, Boy Scouts, but equally so Girl Scouts. We have, I would suggest that parents would find the interests of their children, their giftedness, and then, as John said, go and find, because these places are there waiting for you, and get those children involved where they can feel a part of something and loved and cared from the extended family.
Okay. Now, I'd like to, you guys just take a minute on this one. We often talk about young men not having their fathers around. Okay. In your opinion, what about young girls, little girls, who are raised in a situation where their father's not there? Can you share on that?
Yeah, actually I can. I think it's critical that as we talk to males about this whole concept, young ladies need to see a positive male role model such that they will know what to expect. Correct. And when they engage in a relationship. So it's very critical that we do create these environments where they can see an adult male that is using proper language, that is treating them when they're small like little princesses, and as they grow up, talk about those things, the flowers, the hugs, the kisses, all that affection that goes along with building the self-esteem of the young lady such that she doesn't just settle for the first thing that comes along.
All right, thank you. Dr. Moss, could you continue?
Yes, you've got to look at the basic structure. The young lady is a part of a household, or a hierarchy really, designed by God our Creator. So therefore, the young lady has as much need to see mother, father, and then she will begin to look at her place or her role, and who will she model? She really needs both. She needs mom in one sense, but she needs a dad to give her the kind of love, that sense of protection that comes from the father. Being taken care of, my father protected us. So daddy had an image that we were able to look at. So when I began to look at the man of my life, I wanted a man with a job who could take care of me because I had that image. Right. I wanted one who could respect me as a lady because daddy didn't whip us. He would whip the boys, but he wouldn't whip us. So dad, we had an image of dad. So it's important that we get that complete image so that that young girl would have a man that she can, as John say, she would have a model, some expectations of a man.
Thank you very much. Mr. Black.
And like Ms. Moss said, that's you're looking at the expectation. They're looking for the mother. They're looking for the father. Because with scouting, and I can give one story about that, is when we have meetings, we have girls, Girl Scouts not there, but we have girls coming in looking for that male role model. See, they missing it. Without that leadership and the mother and the father there, it's they trying to find something, and hopefully it's the good thing like scouting or the programs we just been talking about, instead of not looking for the negative.
Okay, thank you very much. We're gonna close out this segment. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned as with our show Keeping It 100, we continue our discussion on absentee fathers. See you in a minute. Welcome back to our segment of Keeping It 100. Today's topic is absentee fathers. So let's continue the discussion. Dr. Moss, if we can start off with, how can families rebuild healthy bonds once a parent has been absent for an extended period of time? If you could just share your opinion on that.
Yes, I'll be glad to. In that parent is absent, you have to deal with the reality of what you have to deal with. And the best way to approach this is to realize that, and let me just sort of capture
Sure.
a slogan, if you will, accentuate the positive. I would not suggest that mom, if she's the person that's with the children, do not focus so much on the negative of that missing parent, because that's only going to be weight on the children. So begin to build bond by providing those resources, embracing these programs that we have, drawing from the 100s and the Boy Scouts and the church, and just begin to build the self-esteem of those children. And when she cannot be present, mentoring comes in. We're working on a program with with Louisiana Area Women in Ministry, where I'm calling together every female pastor, every female minister to come together, where we can be that the individual to come into that child's life. Many retired teachers and ministers are at home, so that we can be that source of security and strength and mentor in the schools and in places that mom cannot be. So that will strengthen her, so that when she returns home, she's not so agitated. Right. She has to work, she has to provide, and so I understand. So we are going to pull together the female clergy, the people of faith, and let us undergird mom so that she can be in a healthier mental state and physical state to give those kids what they need.
Sounds like a wonderful program.
Thank you.
John, if you could.
Yeah, I think a couple of things that can be done. Quite often we say we have programs out there, but we find that people don't know how to find them. I'd say one of the things is to get a message out there to parents to say, go talk to your clergy. If there's a church in your community, go knock on their door and say, I need some help with my child, such that they can say, well, there's the 100, there's scouting, there's the ministerial group, and they can point them in those directions. Because at the end of the day, what we have to do is provide access to information.
Correct. Mr. Black.
Like John say, with scouting, we partnership with the church, and where we combine the partnership, we get the leadership from the church. We get especially male and female role models to come in and work with the parents. With scouting, they can go through the different skills and build trust with one another, build togetherness, and with the church and scouting, I think we can find out and replace the missing part that the family is missing.
Okay, thank you very much. So, John, I'd like to start this question with you. In the event a father never returns, okay, how can mentoring help to fill that void?
Mentoring, especially in programs like the 100, where we are successful men giving back to young males. mentoring helps to put in place all of those structured things, such as setting some goals in life, being respectful. So mentoring begins to embrace that young man, to show him the way to being a successful young man, even though the father is not in the home.
Okay. Dr. Moss?
Yes, we have, I give leadership to a new project that we're doing in Eden Park, which is called the Village Project. And mentoring is a very huge part of that. And one thing we're going to do is exactly what John is saying, being there for them, mentoring. Our program, the Village Project, though, will focus on mentoring mama and child.
Okay.
But the one thing that we want to do, we want to show them we love them, we care, we are there with them, we understand. We want to be there with when they don't have anybody else. So through the Village Project in Eden Park, we have a resource center that's right there housed in Eden Park, where the parents can come by, tutoring can take place. We will link them to resources, and this is great because we can link the young men to 100s. We got different groups that we can link the young ladies to. So I think we're going to be there to just care and guide and undergird.
Thank you very much.
With the mentoring, with scouting, like I said, we partnership with the churches. We have meetings at churches and community centers, housing authorities. Also, we're bringing scouting to different camps, and they can work out different skills and build their character and their self-esteem, and just bringing all the partnership in together.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, all three of you represent excellent organizations. Dr. Moss from the ministry, and I know within the church that you pastor, you have several programs. John, Vice President of Programs, Select Director at the Boy Scouts. What, if you can briefly just take a few seconds, each of you, what, while you have the community in front of you and viewing, what can community provide to you? Not necessarily in terms of economics, but in terms of support to each one of your organizations. And I'll start off with John.
What the community can provide to the 100 is access to the young men that we need to help. They can also bring just that willingness to come to some of the meetings that we help, like our father and son event, where adult males sit down with young males, have a meal, and we talk about these. So they can provide additional resources to be at that table. Financial resources are always something we'd say, but really it's about that human element.
Okay.
There's a new word that I've embraced, Mike, called engaged or engagement. They have young parents have been involved in activities. What they can do with us is to become engaged. I want them at the table making decisions, not us talking to them. So when we do surveys, we want real honest answers. Okay. So they need to come to us.
Thank you very much.
Bring your kids to scouting. The youth need the scouting program. We're in a recruiting process now, so we're recruiting for other churches, recruiting in schools now. So Strom Area Council is wanting your kids to bring the support to them.
Thank you very much. I want to thank our panel for engaging with us today and throughout the community. Please don't hesitate to support any of these organizations. And if you can't do that, just find some child and try to mentor that child, support that child. Thank you very much.
That was